My name's Saint Riot, and I'm less dead than this game. For those of you who don't know, I've been playing Dark Souls PvP for like 3 years now, and it all started when Dark Souls 3 released. I had dabbled in Dark Souls 2 PvP and Bloodborne PvP, but Dark Souls 3 was the first time I went like balls to the wall crazy with Dark Souls PvP. This was my first Dark Souls PvP build. This is at meta level, which is soul level 120 or 125. This is a quality build, which means you're going to have split strength and dexterity, kind of equal. I've got 35 strength, 40 dex. Some people would go 40 strength, 40 dex. Some people would go 27 strength, 40 dex, because when you two-hand your weapon in Dark Souls 3, you get a 1.5 strength modifier, which means your strength is multiplied by 1.5. So 27 strength basically becomes 40 strength. All well and good. This was the build to run 3 years ago. And 3 years ago, you could get invasions anywhere in this game. And everybody ran this build, basically. And then they complained that sorceries weren't good. And you can see I've got refined weapons because that is the chosen infusion type, I guess, that used to really be great for refined weapons. Nowadays, I think you can actually kind of split it between refined or sharp, and each weapon might, respond better sharp or refined. This is the Karthus Curved Sword. The Karthus Curved Sword used to be an absolute beast. As you can see, refined, it's got C and C scaling, which is, not bad. This thing it used to be about as fast as the Pontiff Knight Curved Sword is now. It did more damage, and it was much longer. This thing was an absolute beast, but it could be even more beastlier. Please join me on Dark Souls 3 PvP history. Yeah, this thing used to be an absolute beast, but if we go over here to Andre,
What needs smithing this day?
we can talk to him and we can say, hey man, would you infuse this weapon for me and make it hollow, and then I will show you the true 2016 meta. As you can see, quality, again, this has C and C, which is, average, not bad. Strength and dex. And it was fast as hell. It was just a good weapon. And if we go to hollow, I don't have hollow because I don't have the coal. And I don't have the coal to give him. Motherfucker!
Pretty be careful.
Just give me the ember. Why do your fucking babies faced weird ass? Why do any of you even care? Get fucked. Get fucked. That's mine. Please! So if we slap the hollow infusion on this thing with a hollow gem, you can see the scaling doesn't change too dramatically. It's still D strength, C dex, but also it now scales with luck. So if instead of having, 40-40, we had 30 dexterity, 30 strength, and 30 luck, this thing would be doing even more damage. And you'll also notice that it has a bleed additional effect, an auxiliary, quote, I'm doing air quotes, you can't, there's no fucking, so you would see that it's got 30 bleed. Now, if we are a hollow build, if we've got luck, then we proc bleed more quickly. So this thing was an absolute beast. It would proc bleed real quick, and it did a lot of damage. It was absolutely wild. So Mr. Scott Jund, aka Damn No HTML on YouTube, for those of you who came to the party late, he used to run around with his Karthus Curved Sword on his hollow quality build in the arena, and he talked about all the different weapons in Dark Souls 3 and duels and stuff. And he made very informative videos, and he made very entertaining videos. But again, most of his stuff was about duels, which never really resonated with me because I liked invasions. And coming from Dark Souls 2, I feel like, my opinion, Damn No HTML talked a lot about how elemental infusions were kind of subpar. And he talked a lot about how a lot of different weapons were subpar. And a lot of his viewers would say, yes, this weapon is subpar, I wish they would buff it. Me, coming from invasions, I was fine with them never buffing certain weapons because in an invasion, that weapon was strong because it had friends with it. So yeah, I didn't want to see all these weapons get buffed and sorceries. If you've ever done an invasion and gotten hit with a crystal soul spear while you were fighting someone else, oh shit, sorcery is really strong. And invasions are sort of what happens as you play the game. So I was cool with, let's maybe not have all this stuff get buffed. But in the end, elemental infusions did get buffed, and that's when the dark infusion, the dark gem, sort of became the ultimate meta. Everybody runs the 30 intelligence, 30 faith build, which bothers me from a roleplay standpoint, because why does a guy who went to college about the Bible hit harder with a sword than a guy or a girl who is an Olympic medal winning gymnast weightlifter? Doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me. But anyway, in this day and age, it's much more difficult to find invasions at 120. But that's my favorite thing, is to fight a lot of people. That's my favorite thing. I like fighting a lot of people as they try and beat the level. That doesn't happen so much anymore. So what I have started doing, is I will use a dried finger and I will run through a covenant area and I will fight all the invaders. But this drives me crazy. There's this very fine line. There's this distinction here. If you use a dried finger and then you stand right in the middle of the level with all the enemies dead, and then you fight the invaders, and you've got 30% more health because you used an ember, and you've got double the amount of Estus because you're the host and not, a dark spirit, it takes a lot of the fun out of it, because you've completely removed the objective from an objective-based gameplay system. Invasions are all about keeping the host from completing the objective. The objective is getting to the boss. The invader's supposed to stop that. So, I always go towards the boss. That's what makes it an invasion. If there's nothing for the invaders to stop me from doing, then what the hell, we're like, I've got double Estus and 30% more health for basically no reason. So I always try and move towards the objective. I always try and be moving. I'm not going to just stand around and hang out and wait for invaders. I'm also not going to try and fight invaders one-on-one. That is the most... I'm not here for honor duels. There's literally an arena in this game for that, if you want to do that. I'm here to simulate, to the best of my ability, invasions. And I'm doing it with this 2016 meta quality build. And basically, this build is still fine. This is still a fine build to run. And it's fun, because you get access to a shit ton of weapons. And our first opponent here is using the Ring Knight paired greatswords. I'm guessing the first button he presses is L1. I am wrong. So I would like to switch to my Black Knight greatsword. I don't know why he turned that around. If I switch to my Black Knight greatsword, I can perseverance through this wheelbarrow attack. I have to put my shield up. This is what I'm talking about. Look at Dexter over there, the dark spirit Dexter. He wants this to be like an honorable fight. I don't want an honorable fight. I would like for you to try and kill me, sir. Please come hit me with your weapons. I have no intention of quote-unquote winning. There's no winning here. All there is do I make it to the boss or do I not? So, rest in peace to Mr. Ring Knight paired greatswords. That Oni Slayer used to be absolutely badass. Now you're dead about it. The Oni Slayer used to be a really crazy weapon art. It's got hyper armor, it can't be parried, and if you had Karthus Rouge on the Onikiri and Ubadachi, you could use the weapon art, which is called Oni Slayer, and then it would true combo into an L1, and boom, that's like, you're bled out. If your opponent had Karthus Rouge on their katanas when they did that weapon art, and then L1'd you, that was like instant bleed. That was like all of your health. You were dead. That has subsequently been patched. It's still a katana. It's still decent, It's got a running R1 with a katana, so it can't be all bad. And then on top of that, it does have the Oni Slayer, which again can't be parried, has hyper armor. It's not a bad, whatever. And the R1s and L1s are sort of interchangeable combos. Not a bad deal. Okay, so now I need to get... Okay, there's no good way to do this, but I don't want him to drop on me either. I don't want him to plunge attack me. That would suck. Jesus! My opponent is using the move. My opponent is using the Cathedral Knight Ultra Greatsword, which is it's actually a pretty cool Ultra Greatsword. It has a bunch of combo potential: R1 into jump attack, R1 into R2. It does strike damage, which most armors don't have very good strike resistance. It doesn't weigh as much as the Greatsword. the Ultra Greatsword that's called the Greatsword. It doesn't weigh as much as that, but it does comparable damage. Looks like he's looking for a parry. So we're just not going to swing into that. And I don't know what he's trying to do. I don't think he knows what he's trying to do. He overcommits. Overcommitting to the running R1 when I've got a shield out. It's a great way to get backstubbed. I'm using illegal backstab maneuvers and just absolutely taking a wet, watery shit all over this level. My opponent here now using the Dragon Slayer's Axe. It's funny doing this off stream. I'm not streaming right now. Versus doing it on stream. When I do it on stream, the level of invaders that I get is absolutely ridiculous because a bunch of stream sniping ass cheaters on Twitch all come at me. Not going to get the backstabby rolled out of it. You just get much better invaders when you're streaming because other invaders are watching you stream and they want to invade and they will invade you. Dragon Slayer's Axe, I mean, it's fine or whatever, but at this level it's not, you know, it's not the end-all be-all. Like it, you know, at lower levels it's a really great twink weapon, but here it's not all that great. So we just keep making forward progress. That's the point. We got to get to Aldrich, and then once we get to Aldrich, we'll just use the Homeward Bone, and we'll reset the thing. All right, the invaders couldn't find me, so now they're going to return home. So now I'll also return home with the thing. Wait, that was the dried finger. I used the wrong thing. Aldrich! I remember when this Pontiff's back porch used to just be absolutely full of summon signs. Yeah, it was wild. Game's dying out, but it's okay. All good things come to an end. We've got Elden Ring on the way, and while officially there is no word on multiplayer, I think it's pretty safe to assume we're going to have multiplayer just between the post on Reset Era from Omnipotent and, you know, Miyazaki interviews like, hey Miyazaki, what's different from Dark Souls, you know, in Elden Ring? And he's basically said this is like Dark Souls, and they're like, what's different about it? And he's like, some stuff, but he never says, you know, it doesn't have multiplayer. Anyway, I think that it'll have multiplayer. Look, the point is Dark Souls 3 is kind of winding down or whatever. This is like a fun little way to you know, just remember some of the good times. I remember Revion used to. This was how I was introduced to Revion content, was him running around Gank City. The Black Knight Glaive, one of Revion's favorite weapons. I also love this weapon. It's funny, this thing got nerfed, and we all were sort of like, well, okay, I guess it deserves a nerf. R1 shouldn't necessarily combo into the full weapon art. That seems like it's overdoing it a little bit. And that was all fine and dandy. But it would have been, except for then they released the Split Leaf Greatsword, and it was better than the Black Knight Glaive ever was, so then why did you bother to nerf the Black Knight Glaive? It doesn't make sense. $15 pay-to-win weapon, I guess, you know, and I'm just talking shit. But look, this is still a really fun weapon. It's against a defensive Greatsword, you know, it can have some issues, but it's still fun to play with. It has hyper armor, like enough to, you know, deal with the straight sword as long as you play better than the straight sword plays. It's got nice range, combo potential, stuff like that. My opponent here is going to always break my poise. Yeah. They're always going to break my poise unless I weapon art them and then they die. This person looks kind of fishy using the Black Knight Greatsword. They look like they like to go for backstabs. That was nice, Cestus. Okay. Well, they certainly know what they're doing. I'm not going to say that they're necessarily fishy, but I mean, they know how to play the game, obviously. Please stop! Just a bunch of poor rolls. And again, if I was invading, I'd be dead right now. You know, like I've got 30% of my health is from that Ember. I'm going to heal because I don't believe in honor, and neither should you. Went for the parry there, saw that coming. And he's going to get backstabbed right here because he rolled in on me and then didn't get away from me fast enough. And, oh, Perseverance into heal. That's very smart. Yeah, this player knows what's up. They know what they're doing. And they basically have already beat me. You know, they got my health down below 30%. 30% of my health is an Ember. They've basically, you know, if this was an arena fight, they would have already won. Hello, please fight. I'm not here for duels. I'm here for invasions. I would like for you to fight me as well. Alright, so the invader goes for a backstab only when my back is turned. I don't consider that backstab fishing. But to me, I consider backstab fishing. I know a lot of people hear backstab fishing and they're like, oh, I immediately hate it. I don't hate it unless you're somebody who does it when I'm looking at something else! If there's no skill there, two-handed Lothric Knight Sword. Son, I didn't make that up, but I damn near perfected it. Don't come at me with that. And that is where the halberd shines. It can outpoise a straight sword, and it can hit you with that combo, and it's just absolutely devastating. GG's to my opponent. Again, don't kid yourself. If you're a host and you get invaded, and your invader gets you below 30% health, just know that you were dead. Just know that you were saved by your host bonus, your host advantage, your ember, your 30% extra health is what kept you alive. Don't kid yourself and think that you're good. That player absolutely wore my ass out with that Black Knight Sword. So speaking of Revion, another one of back in the day when Revion would do this, he was the Exile Greatsword was a weapon he used a lot. This is one that you actually still see. The heavy Exile